Welcome to my cat-infested living room today. We and all my cats who are coming shortly have gathered here to talk about, I think, an important topic in my little part of the world and in my little niche and like interest corner, and that is, of course, plant oracles and oracle decks and working with plants in general. I have my notes here below me, so if you see me looking down, it's just to catch up on my thoughts a little bit and maybe give myself some structure back because I tend to ramble and over explain. And even though I don't script these videos because I think that the flowing of the thoughts in the mind is healthy and beneficial for me and for how I do things, I do have some notes to keep myself on some sort of track and not delve into completely unrelated topics, which could happen. And maybe one day I will make a video that will just start me on one sentence and we will see where I can get to. So the question and the central question of this video is, do you have to be an herbalist to work with plants? Specifically, do you have to have any credentials, special education, prerequisite knowledge to work with plants in general, but also in like small things like having a botanical oracle in your card collection? And the answer is no. Thank you for coming to my video. It was nice to see you, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. What I specifically mean by this question, and we will explore this deeper in like a minute or two. What I specifically mean in regards to this question is, do you need to have prerequisite knowledge to work with plants in the sense of your own spiritual, magical household practice? To add some important disclaimers so that we are on the same page here, I recognize like three spheres of this question, or where this question can go. The first sphere, of course, is, as I mentioned, your personal spiritual household practice. The second sphere is a practice of herbalism or working with plants as service to others. And fourth sphere is the medicinal part of being an herbalist and working with plants. This video specifically will only be about your personal practice and how you work with plants for your own personal well-being, spiritual development, whatever, and more in the sense of like magical herbalism and magical practice and spiritual practice, not really in regards to medicinal practice, even if it's for your own good. I do have a viewfinder, and I'm checking whether somebody's getting interested in things that they're not supposed to be interested in. Just to iterate these disclaimers and make them a little bit more nuanced and complex, I think that the answer to the question, no, you don't need to have any special prerequisite knowledge or certification, is only valid for the question of personal practice. If you are doing something for as a service to others or for the benefit of others, I think that there are much stricter standards that you have to adhere to and you have to comply with, be it your governmental national standards of certification, or even when we're talking about divination, if you want to be a professional reader, if you are a professional reader of tarot and stuff like that, and you offer this as paid services to other, not maybe like to your friends, you do also have to have a higher standard of practice, higher standard of knowledge and education, be it through having extensive knowledge on the archetypal meanings of the tarot and on the way to read the tarot in a more standard way, so that you can also explain to your clients how you are coming to the conclusions that you're coming to. And of course, if you're practicing herbalism as a service to others, you have to adhere to certain codes, certification standards, if that's relevant in your country, or you have to educate yourself continually on the current science and the current best practice and stuff like that. And when it comes to medicinal herbalism, even if it's for your own good, still the responsibility you have to take on yourself scales with the risk of what you're doing. So for the purposes of this video, we'll only be talking about personal spiritual practice and working with plants for your own personal benefit. And if you are a professional herbalist or a professional tarot reader, thank you for being here. I very much appreciate it. And none of what I'm going to say is meant to take away from your own credentials, your own education, and the importance of what you do. It is really just for us lay people. The central image that I want to give you as a person who is asking themselves if you have to have any prior knowledge or credentials to work with plants in your practice is, if plants already affect you on the daily, you depend on them for survival, they are your furniture, your clothes, your supplements, your nourishment, your morning coffee is a plant that affects you on the daily. If you depend on them on the everyday, why would they suddenly feel like they are inaccessible when you work with them on a spiritual level? I would suggest that perhaps they're not inaccessible to you on the spiritual level because you already have deep and personal, intimate relationships with a variety of plants that you may not even realize on a conscious level. Not only do we undervalue the everyday relationship we do have with plants, I would perhaps even go so far to say that we don't even realize the depth and strength of that relationship at all, to be honest. What I want to offer you in this video is the freedom to give yourself permission to work with whichever natural spirits you feel the affinity to work with, just because you feel connected or you feel drawn to them. The arguments I want to present in regards to this are perhaps aimed more at our inner critics, the imposter syndrome that we harbor within ourselves, the inner naysayer who says you don't know enough about this stuff to delve into it, to mess around with it. And I want to say, like, it's not messing around, it's just approaching a relationship from a slightly different perspective than I approached it yesterday or this morning when I made my coffee. That's all, or morning tea or whatever. If we're talking about working with plants on a spiritual, magical, divinatory level, what does that even mean for us in the general sense? What I mean when I say working with plants is approaching them from the perspective of potential teachers who have some information to bestow upon me, spirits that I can ask questions to, but also friends that I could potentially ask for help. From this perspective, you can take the working with plants from a very broad and inclusive sense. It could be anything as narrow as using them as symbols in divination to more broad cultivation of relationships as plant spirits. Your inner naysayer or critic might say that cultivating relationships with plant spirits is not enough to have enough information and enough knowledge to work with them responsibly. That building familiarity and a relationship is not equivalent to receiving any kind of knowledge, be it spiritual, esoteric kind of knowledge or factual, science-based knowledge, as in these are the effects the plant has on the human body. And I would ask you, what would you personally find more useful for your everyday life if you had your best friend? Imagine your best friend in the world. What do you find more useful? Having a dossier on your best friend with all the available information about their life, number of bowel movements a day, percentage of elements in their body, and basically huge amount of paperwork telling you every detail about your friend, their life, their thoughts, their opinions, what they do, what they think, what they're composed of, how their biology works? Or would you find it more personally useful to be able to call that same friend and just ask them for help when you need it? I personally, for my personal benefit and my personal journey, would find it much more useful to be able to have a relationship with someone, to be able to call them late in the evening and ask them for some urgent help because something happened, rather than knowing that 5 minutes ago they went and did a number 2 on the toilet. You know. And when you step into the process of working with plants with a similar attitude, and that is building a relationship with them as companions, helpers, friends, teachers, rather than the crushing need to know everything about them and know every effect and know every composite molecular structure that the plant has and every biological effect that it might have on the body, I think that your practice will become much more fuller. You will be able to work with them on a much more deeper, intimate level, and along the way, you will also be able to discover that factual, scientifically backed information that you are longing for. Because people have worked with plants for millennia, forever, ever since we were here and we were humans. We worked with plants to one capacity or another, and people were able to discover properties of plants before they had spectrometers and before they were able to deconstruct them on a molecular level and before they were able to do peer-reviewed studies on effects of a certain plant on certain conditions. Yet we still have information from old herbals about properties of plants and effects of plants that now science also shows us are correct. So people, through building a relationship and through exploration and through being able to sit with the plant and explore its energies and observe how it grows, where it grows, what effects it has on its environment, have been able to discover very important properties that are then useful in other kinds of practice, not only spiritual. I would like to invite you to view your plant-based practice, whatever it is, if it's magical herbalism or using plants in your workings as correspondences, using them as ingredients in your edible potions that you cook in your kitchen during your meal prep, or of course during divination through various botanical oracle decks, not only mine, but of course if you use mine, that's great. I'm very grateful to be a part of your practice. But in general, to approach your work with plants in your personal spiritual practice as a building of a personal relationship with another individual or a group of individuals, rather than spycraft and like making of a file about specific information about an individual. Take it more personally, ask questions, sit with the individual and note how they live their life and how they react in certain situations and what happens when you just ask a question and how the answers may come. And to take it back to my previous video, when we take divination as dialogue, in my core being, I do believe that plants do want to be understood, and that plants, if given the chance, they do want to communicate with us in one way or another, be it through being noticeable in a moment when they are needed, when you have, for example, maybe walked through that space or that park for years before and never noticed that specific plant, and you notice it only when for some reason you might need its energy in your life, or be it through being included on cards that come up in divination, and that may also be through various tarots, not only specifically botanical oracle decks. Plants are part of deck and have been a part of oracle decks for years, so even that sort of thing, you can notice it on the TV, or somebody mentions it in your daily life. To iterate again, I do believe that plants want to communicate with us and want to be understood, and when you make yourself open to that communication and understanding, your practice will grow exponentially and will deepen so much more than if you just collect information rather than cultivate a dialogue with them. It seems that that's all I have for today. Maybe this will be a little bit of a shorter video, a little tidbit, a little dessert for the thought. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that I have been able to give you some sort of interesting tidbit to think about. And let me know down in the comments how you approach your practice and what you do to cultivate relationships in it. And if you do cultivate relationships at all, that would also be very interesting to me. And if you like this video, please like it. If you want to subscribe not to miss any other videos, please subscribe as well. I would appreciate that very much. And I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.